Alright, so the weather, we had a really good snowstorm, and then we had sort of a day of rain, and now it's 3 degrees. It's pretty warm. So that's sort of, it's packed the snow down at least, but we need it to freeze. If it doesn't freeze, it'll just melt, and it hasn't really had a chance to freeze yet. So, taking it easy. Over that side we got a mogul. I don't really see moguls in it personally, but that's a mogul course. So I'm only grooming more or less just this half of the trail, which is a shame because there's so much snow over there that we could use, but not allowed to use it. So I'm just doing this little bit here. If anything, this is more of a test of my new microphone, which I'm wearing on my lapel. So I want to see what the sound's like using that instead of using the camera sound, because the camera's been a bit buffety and strange. So I want to see how this microphone goes. So it's a bit of a, yeah, just a sound check really. A frustration check while I try and groom this slope. So like I say, it's 3 degrees, the climbing's pretty shit. It's the kind of snow that you don't want to work too much, but when you're in a winch, you kind of have to work it regardless, so that sucks. But this is Southern Hemisphere grooming. It's not as easy as the north where I've worked. I mean, I did spend my first 3 seasons, bar my very first season, that was in Canada. Then the next 3 I spent in New Zealand, which is very similar to this, but it's worse actually. It's got rocks under everything. So when it's soft like this, you've got to be doubly careful that you don't punch through and basically smash your grousers to pieces on rocks, or your blade, or your tiller. So I'll see what I can pull up here. I have to leave that sort of blended, so I've got to kind of cut down and up, and this is always awkward at the best of times. First things first, even though the conditions suck and I'd really love to just drop my tiller and drive forward and pretend the rest of the slope doesn't need changing, I'm still going to try and level it up as much as I can. The downside to wet snow is that it wants to be tilled out fast. Like, it seems to be when the snow's wetter, you want to drop your tiller and go forward as quickly as you can, because the slower you go, the more snow starts to pick up under the mats, and then you leave these big drag marks. But again, in a winch, unfortunately, you're often starting on a steep slope, so it's quite hard to get momentum up quickly. So you generally end up leaving pretty horrible drops every time you put your tiller down at the beginning, which sucks. So you got to try and get it as flat as you can to begin with, and then it just makes it ugly. But ugly and flat is better than ugly and bumpy. Right now I've got to hang my backside. This is a cat with this track, so I'm pretty much hanging the back half of the machine over a edge like that. Just so I can get as much of the snow up as possible. Hopefully you can't hear my breathing through this thing. That'd be bloody annoying. It's down here if you can't see it. That's the mic there. The illusion is broken. This corner's always a bastard. It's a bit of an awkward pull. I'll try and do this pull now. By pulling across, it should be a good pull, but you lose all your traction off the left-hand track, which is the one that really needs the power. So you're trying to pull that snow back into the slope. The age-old thing. It sounds obvious when people tell you, but if you're trying to work a machine uphill and the tracks are spinning, then the tracks aren't working as efficiently as they can be. So it's a good thing about the speed dials on these yoke cats. If your tracks are spinning, you can just slowly button off on that and it'll slow the track speed down. But if you keep your foot steady and keep your revs in the green around 1300 or 1400 RPM, then it's still got plenty of torque. So if your tracks aren't spinning, then it should be all good because all your power is going into the snow. Once your tracks start spinning, you're basically wasting energy of the machine. Same thing in a bulldozer. Sometimes a certain amount of track slip's not a problem, but yeah, you don't want them spinning up all the time because all they do is spit snow out the back, especially if you've got your tiller down. If you're trying to climb something with your tiller down and your track starts spinning, all you're doing is spitting all that snow out from under the track and at the tiller, and the tiller can't fill in the hole that you've just dug, not unless you're in really good powder. You're just creating work for it. Your blade's the thing that you're supposed to use to fill holes in, not the tiller. Little holes like your track marks, sure, but not trenches that you dig with your tracks from poor traction. obviously these 400s are, they're the previous model now. They've been around for a long time, I think since 2005 maybe. I think that was when the first one came out. So everything in it's pretty analog really, but I do like certain things. I mean, there's 4 different joysticks, I think it's 4. This one's different because it's the winch. There's a few buttons in different places which can get confusing when you're bouncing between cats, but I do like some of the more analog sort of things in it, like this button on top for the active boom. It's just got sort of a click so you can hear it going in and engaging and clicking back out. It's like a reassuring click, it feels solid. And then the same with the free cats, you've got the float and up pressure and down pressure. That's on a little clicking sort of switch on the side. Again, it's like you're certain that the thing's in when it's in because you can hear it and you can feel it. And same with all these switches and everything on here. Your wipers, you know, they're robust. And even just like on the side here, you've got your tiller travel, so you got trailer mode, center, and locked. And also for the winch tension, which you can't see from that side, but there's a little slider that you can get your thumb under to start, and when you've dropped it down to minimum pressure, it clicks. It's what the old 600s used to do too, and it's kind of good. It's a bit of reassurance that you know that it's in minimum when you're sort of doing other things and not really focusing 100% on where the dial is. You can feel when it's in minimum. So it's handy when you're coming up to an anchor, you can just sort of brush it down with your thumb and hear the click if you've accidentally wound it up or whatever, or somebody's cleaned the joystick during the day and bumped it or something. But it is nice that most of these now are on the joystick on the new ones. Some people don't like that, but it means you're not taking your hand off to do certain things like lift your dumbbell ears or change your cut or whatever else, change your pressure. I think that should be pretty good. I feel like my first pass on this is never any good because it starts in that far corner. And despite what I said earlier, I still end up occasionally getting a bit of spin. It'll be fine once it's frozen. It just hasn't frozen. We got all that snowfall, landed on the ground, and then it got warm. There's a bit of a lump there actually, I might get that. But yeah, so it's good when you get snowfall and then cold weather, so it freezes. If it doesn't freeze, it turns into this. It turns into mashed potatoes. You need it to freeze. You need that water to dry up out of it so it's easier to work with and it stays in place. just like anything, like if you put topsoil down or something and it's just constantly wet and doesn't get a chance to dry out, it's always just going to be mud. This is the snow equivalent of mud. And you end up using your tracks, or I do, everyone's different. I end up using my tracks a lot to break things up, because your blade's not going to be able to break anything apart. You can't get a big lump of snow and somehow make it magically level. So you can cut where you want to cut, and then if you see a hole lift, run over it, pack it in with the tracks, and then recut it again if you don't like how it's come out. The downside is how much the tracks pick up in these conditions. They just rip big chunks out of everything. But there's nothing you can do about it, other than not running over it. That. One good thing about the snow melting is those branches have lifted up. I couldn't take that so straight before because those trees were hanging down with the weight of the snow on top of them. The snow's melted now, so they pop back up. Gives me access to a little bit more snow down the side. It's very misty tonight too, if you hadn't noticed. It is a bastard finding your way around when it's like this, because I'm still very new with this resort. I know how to get here, and a couple other slopes, but with all the snow we've just had, we've opened up a whole load of new terrain, which I've never seen in the daylight, and at night I haven't really had a chance to see it either. So I have an idea of what areas of it looks like, but I haven't really joined the dots in some places yet. But that's the fun of working in a new resort, just seeing new shit. Like the family slope, which is a couple of slopes over, goes way down below this. Had no idea it was there. Big fences and stuff. It's a cool looking area. So it's fun. It's like exploring, but with a snowcat. I'm gonna have to do two backups here, which is kind of annoying. I've got the closed sign still there, so I can't quite get my tiller where I want it to go. Bloody cookies. In your head you want to just do another backup and get the cookies, but if you do that you create a shitload more and then you make a mess trying to till them out. It's never worth it. Unless the conditions are good. Good conditions, chase cookies all night. If it's crap like this, then yeah, you're better off leaving it. You're just going to hurt your own feelings if you chase after them. Right,